Welcome to episode 4 of the Catching Made Simple podcast. Today we're diving into one of my favorite things and one of the core pillars to the method we use to develop catchers. And I think this applies to other skills such as hitting and virtually could be any sport as well. But we're calling this the Catching Made Simple method, the 5 levels of learning. If you don't know who I am, my name's Anj Bourgeois and I'm the founder of Catching Made Simple. And I converted from a middle infielder to a catcher my junior year of college, and this is the information I wish I had when I started. So buckle up because we're going to dive into the Catching Made Simple method, the process I use to teach catchers how to get better. And again, I think this applies to hitting, this could apply to soccer, this could apply to football. This really is just a method of skill development, but we're going to talk specifically about catching today. All right, so let's jump in. So let's talk about the 5 levels first. The 5 levels are as follows. First, we need to learn how to move our body. If we don't know how to move our body, we're not going to make any progress. Secondly, once we move the body, then we're going to add in a baseball. And what's going to happen every time we add in a baseball is we're going to revert back and we're going to go back into our old habits. Okay, so move the body, add in a ball. Once we can do it consistently, we can move our body correctly with a ball, then we're going to increase the variables. What some variables might look like is increasing the speed of the ball, increasing or decreasing the time between reps of the ball, increasing the weight of the ball, changing the location of the ball. So now we're not just going down the middle, but we're going to the side. We're going with a faster ball, potentially a heavier ball. We potentially randomize it. So that's how we increase the variables, okay? And we're going to keep running this performance pathway over and over as we teach to acquire the skill. All right, so first we're going to move the body. Second, we're going to add in a baseball. Third, we're going to increase the variables. And then fourth, we're going to sharpen the reads, sharpen our decision making. And this really happens with our eyes. And we'll dive into this more here in just a moment. Fifth, we're going to dive into how do we compete and just let it eat in the game? How do we throw out all the stuff that we just worked on? And how do we just compete in the present moment? Okay, so as we run this Catching Made Simple method again, let's just walk back through it. First, we're going to teach the body to move. Once we can move correctly, then we're going to add in a baseball. As soon as we add in a baseball, we're going to revert to old habits. So we'll have to go run that path over and over again until we can move correctly with the baseball. Now, once we can do that, then we need to increase the variables. Increasing the variables can look like increasing the speed of the baseball, changing the location, making the ball heavier, decreasing the time between reps, any of those things. Once we get those 3, and those 3 really wrapped together are about teaching your body to move. Then we get to level 4, which is making the decision. And this is specifically most apparent in blocking. And then again, number 5, let it eat in the game, throw everything out that we just talked about and just compete and be focused. So that's how we want to think about it. And I think blocking is such a great example of how this works because, some of the major problems that catchers will have is their hips will be high, which means the pressure's on their knees, which means they can't slide side to side, which means they can't block effectively. And if their hips are high, then their chest is probably puffed out and their neck is probably up. So they're in a really bad position. It does us no good to start chucking balls at them until we've taught their body how to move. And so what we need to do is we need to get their hips back. We need to teach them to roll their shoulders forward so they make a cave with their chest. And then we need to get them to get their chin down, get their arms in the right spot, all that stuff. We need to get them to feel that movement. Then as we do that, then we can work to feel that movement from going from the stance to the block, again, teaching the body to move. Then as we do that, right, we can add in a ball. And as soon as we add in a ball, they're going to flinch, their chest is going to go up, their chin's going to go up, and then we have to go back, teach the body to move. Again, we have to drill this into the brain, into the body, into our muscle memory, and then we're going to add in the ball, and then we want to transfer that movement into the movement with the ball. Now, again, there's going to be lots of mistakes here, and you have to keep kind of oscillating back and forth between getting the body to move and adding in the ball. And you want to keep walking back and forth and just really cementing this muscle pattern into our brain, into our body. Then as we get that down and we've ran that path hundreds of times with reps and we're doing it consistently, then we can go and increase the variables, make it a little bit harder, from a little bit deeper of a stance to a different location, all this stuff. And so that's really the process of how we're going to get better. And again, people will often ask me, hey, how do I get better at blocking? Well, there's two things with blocking blocking. First, you need to be able to move effectively. And that's the first 3 steps, right? Teach your body to move, add in a ball, increase the variables. You gotta be able to move effectively. That's all 3 of those in that first one. The second thing is you gotta make better decisions. And that decision making is really about sharpening the reads. And we can talk more about this. I have more videos in short form on this, but if we are talking about blocking, what I like to say is we wanna think receive first, block second, and we wanna draw the line. And the reason that's the case is because there's a line where if that pitch is above the line, it's going to be in the air. If it's below, you're going to need to block. It's going to be different for every pitch and for every pitcher, but you can figure out what that is when you spend enough time catching someone. And then we think receive first, block second, because if we think block, 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 then our weight oftentimes goes forward. We lose our firmness in our stance, and then we're exposed if we have to catch. Okay, so that's just a quick little side note example of how we would sharpen the read when we are blocking. You know, if it's receiving, then we need to understand, okay, what's the pitch shape? Where is this pitch gonna go? Where does it look like it's gonna go? Where does it really end up? Say it's got some run. So we need to anticipate that. We need to sharpen our read, really sharpen our eyes and our anticipation, and get our brain to where our glove needs to be. One thing that I heard when I was first catching that really helped me was, hey, get your mind out there. Because I kept being late to the outside pitch and I would stab it and I would bounce, which again, we'll talk more about the bounce later on future episodes. But if I got my mind out there, then that pitch was easy. But that's really just all a function of me not sharpening the read. So that's such a critical point. It doesn't do us that much good to focus on the read if we don't know how to move first though. That's why we want to run those first 3 kind of pathways over and over of teach your body how to move, then add in the ball, then increase the variables. And if you can get really good at that, you're going to be able to learn the skill quickly. Finally, step 5 is let it eat in the game. And what I mean by that is when you get in the game, you don't want to be thinking about anything else. You just want to be present. You want to compete. You don't want to be thinking about, oh, Coach Anj told me this. Yo, I need to work on this. No, throw it out. Tell yourself this pitch. I'm going to win this pitch right here and go be present and go dominate that pitch. So when you get into the game, throw all the skill stuff out and you're going to just compete and be present in the moment. Feel the feet underneath you. Tell yourself this pitch, take a breath and get in that moment and go get that pitch. Don't think about anything else. Okay, so that is the Catching Made Simple method. This is how you can acquire skills quickly, specifically catching skills. Again, I think this applies to hitting. I think it applies to soccer, football, tennis. You could probably apply it to any sport. This is what I've found to be the most effective method of teaching people to acquire skills. The reason this was so important for me was I only had 18 months when I first started catching for my whole career, right? So I had to learn how to learn quickly. And again, I wish I had this when I was playing because I think I would have been able to go faster if I had the knowledge that I have now. So one more quick note on this. A lot of people say always start with your mindset, right? That's the first step in anything. And yes, I would agree with that. However, I would say if you're trying to teach a physical skill like catching, just because you have a positive mindset doesn't mean that you're going to get better. And a positive mindset might actually hinder you doing the work that it requires to get better. The way that you build the mindset, the way that you build the confidence is through first doing the action and doing it correctly. And once you've done it correctly, you start to believe, oh, I could be good at this. And that's what I've seen time and time again. And so I really don't spend too much time at the beginning with catchers trying to get their mindset right. It's more so about, can I video them? Can we see where they are? And then can we make the corrections to get them into a good stance? Teach them the fundamentals of how to move. And then can we add in a baseball? Can we increase the variables? Can we get them to move correctly? And can we show them the video of them getting better? And as they do that, their mindset is going to catch up to their body. So really, when we're teaching a physical skill like catching, don't worry so much about the mindset at the beginning. Get them into a good stance and then teach them to move when you receive and block and throw. Then add in the baseball, increase the variables, teach them how to make sharper decisions, and then let it eat in the game. So that's what I have for you today. The Catching Made Simple method. This is one of my favorite things to talk about because it is the fastest way to get better as a catcher. If you haven't taken the 7-day stance challenge yet, I would highly recommend it. Go to catchingmadesimple.com/stance and you'll get an email in your inbox. It's essentially a 7-day course and and you'll get a 5-minute video every day with 2 things. 1, a teaching on a stance, and 2, a mobility drill that you can do at home. Again, we want to start with the stance. Let's get them in a good stance first. Then let's teach them how to move. Then let's add in the ball. Then let's increase the variables. Then let's sharpen that decision making. And then let's let it eat in the game. So that is the process. Again, go grab that 7-day stance challenge at catchingmadesimple.com/stance if you haven't already. If you have any questions, I would love to answer them in a future podcast and video. Go ahead and drop them down in the comments below or send me a DM on Instagram. I'm rooting for you guys. I hope this is as valuable for you as it would have been to me when I was playing. I'm Anj from Catching Made Simple. Thanks for tuning in. I'll see you next week.